Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you guys are all well. I hope you're all staying safe, and that we're slowly starting to get our heads around this huge challenge that we've kind of got, haven't we, at the moment? Um, so this little tutorial I've done, basically this one's now aimed, I've kind of switched a little bit, I guess. I want to kind of, I feel like there's barely urge to kind of help some of the salon owners a little bit as well. Educators, I haven't forgotten about you. I will be doing some bits and pieces for you as well. I will be talking to you about the differences between like online and virtual courses and things like that soon. Because I think that needs to be done. But you know, give me a day or so just to finish off what I'm prepping for you. But this one is going to be about having those virtual skin consultations. Now, this is something you can build into your business anyway. And so I think this is now not just doing stuff what we need to do now to get through this kind of time. I think these are things that now you can put into place and use later on as well. And will put your business in good stead as well for your clients. And some of this stuff you can switch up and do still keep virtually, I guess, as well, having a virtual skin consultation, but you can also do this face to face as well and just have people coming in for skin consultations as well. So I feel like this can be used quite a lot for everybody. What I will do is I will upload because I've done some PowerPoint slides, I will upload that separately as well so that you can get into the link that I've added to the slides. So that you can have a quick look, help yourself, lift some questions off and things like that as well, borrow the questions that I've got in there just to save you a little bit of time. So don't worry about necessarily screenshotting anything at the moment. What I will do in the comments section is I will add the file to it, or hopefully it'll upload, but I will add the file to it. So what you do need though is a latest kind of version of PowerPoint actually to be able to open that as well. Otherwise, you might need to kind of come back and watch this and screenshot some stuff as well for it. And I will put the separate link up there for the Google form that I've created as well. So the first thing I kind of want to say though about this is it depends where you are with your clientele. You had some clients that you were due to start some skincare programs with, or you'd already started that loose kind of discussion, they're kind of like a warm lead in terms of that, then this might be something you might want to kind of just bring up with them because they were going to do that possibly anyway. It's up to you whether you want to charge for this. It really depends where you sit in that whole know, like, trust thing really for your clients. If you haven't built that relationship with some of them, to be able to slide in for a full-on skincare consultation, then you may decide that you don't feel right in charging for this at the moment. It might be something you'll do later, maybe after doing a little bit of educating on basic skincare needs while they're at home, and then adding this in later. So I'm not saying that you go out tomorrow and start doing this, but I want to do this early enough for you to get your heads around it and start planning when you're going to put this into practice. So I appreciate that this given moment right now is not the time to literally start doing this. Now is the time to actually support your clients, because all of a sudden they're left not being able to maintain their treatments and things like that at the moment. And that really is something that you should be looking at as a team or as a salon, helping them at home, helping them look after themselves, helping them maintain their treatments as well. I've seen some fantastic ideas coming up on all of the forums I'm on actually, and some really good social media experts sharing some little hints and tips that you can kind of cut and paste, little like mini facial tips and stuff, which is awesome. So utilize some of that stuff, build up that know, like, trust, whether that is going to be in a group or your main Facebook pages or your Instagram pages. And then when you've kind of built that up and you feel ready, this is then when you might want to drop in the online skincare consultation. You might have some clients that it suits perfectly now and you've built that relationship already. But this shouldn't feel like an icky process. This should feel like a natural process that's going to come. And I would definitely say at the moment, until everybody knows what they're doing with all their money, because people are still in the process of just about starting to make claims and things like that, I would probably hold off for a little while until everybody knows what they can and can't receive in terms of financial support. And then you can see where you want to go with this. But I thought if I do this early enough, you've got plenty of time to plan, prep, prepare, tweak, make it your own, and then maybe kind of go with it in a few weeks' time maybe. So it's entirely up to you what you do with it and when you do with it, but in your gut you need to make sure it feels right, and it shouldn't come from a place of making money. It should come from a place of helping and serving your clients better, and looking after their skincare needs. And if you're not already doing this sort of thing with your consultations, just in face-to-face in general, this is now a time to practice and learn some of that stuff as well. So hopefully this will help you anyway. I'm going to go into a screen share as well with this. I'm going to go into like a PowerPoint that I've done for this as well. So we'll get started on the slideshow. I think I'd be well rehearsed at some of this stuff by now, wouldn't you? So this is your visual skincare kind of consultations as well that you can do. So the first thing you need to think about is getting basically your data. You need a little bit more from your clients. And obviously normally when they're coming in for like a facial or something like that, or a consultation, normally they're given a form in reception and they'll sit in reception, they'll fill out the form and you'll skim through that, quickly building up your rapport on the way up to the treatment room, and then you sit down and kind of review that together. Because we haven't got that step right now, we can't do that because we're all on kind of a semi-lockdown really, aren't we? So we need to get some preliminary information from our clients. We need to find out what their main skin concerns are, where they're at like now in terms of their skin and their goals and things. And then we need to dig deep. We really need to get them to start reviewing them and their skin, in this kind of whole process as well. So you need to make it about them really, not about a place of like selling, and it's more going to be a place about serving really. So once you've got some questions completed, and I'll show you how I think you should do the questions, then you can look at booking maybe a one-to-one virtual call with them. You could use like Zoom, like I'm doing now, have a meeting with myself, or you could do something like Skype if you've got them maybe on like a Messenger or something like that, or like a WhatsApp. You can have video calls, but don't forget you do need to kind of make sure you can get their like email address and things as well. You want to collect that data for yourself because they're now becoming your client, and they're not going to be able to fill out some of your other forms as well. So we still need to do like our due diligence and our duty of care in terms of collecting the right information about their health and things like that in general, and whether this is even worth going any further as well, because that's the other thing really. You don't want to spend half an hour on the phone with the client talking about a treatment that could be a possibility when they haven't actually got the right health to move forward with that as well. So once you've kind of got your data, you can review your data, and now you can then question them further. And usually this is kind of where people stop really. So if that's usually where you do stop in terms of just filling out your form and then cracking on and getting them on the couch and doing their treatment, then you've still got some additional work to do. And this could be something then you could do with your staff. I appreciate that it depends where you sit with everything now as well. And whether you're like furloughing your staff and things like that as well, whether they want to do some extra learning just for themselves off their own back, whether this is going to be something you'll build in later, or if you are managing to still pay them, again, this is something you're going to be able to do whilst you're kind of off on a semi-lockdown and things like that for it. So on my slides here, I do have like a Google form kind of link, which I think is probably the easiest way. I was trying to think of the simplest ways of doing things like this. And I think just, sending documents backwards and forwards is a bit of a pain really, isn't it? So with Google Forms, obviously you can set up a link. Now you can open up Google Forms when you're doing it. You can set it up in lots of different ways. They've got loads of templates on there. You can drag and drop pictures and all sorts in there as well. But this is what my form kind of looks like. I've left actually the little bit that Google leave in there because I'm not actually worried about using this myself at the moment. So this is purely kind of for you. So things that you're going to want to get. Now, if they've got a little star next to them, it means they're required. So you want to get their email address and their name. The cool thing about Google Documents is, I've just spotted a little mistake there. I've got email written twice. That's how quickly I did this. Getting Google Documents, when people fill out forms on there, as it collates all the information and it will give you the statistical data and the analysis from that as well. So not only will it give you individual results if you want them, and it will turn everything into an Excel spreadsheet, it will also allow you to collect the average statistical data as well, put them in pie charts and stuff like that per question for you, which is kind of cool really, because it helps you really analyze what sort of skin that all of your clients have got as well if you get them to do this. But it does give you the contact details, which is great because that means that can go into your database as well, and you've got a way of contacting your clients. So you do need to check about their health. So you do need to do contraindications. So I threw a few contraindications here, and obviously depending on what sort of treatment you're able to offer. So this just covers basic facial, this particular consultation form that I've done, but if you do more advanced treatments, then you need to make sure that you add all the contraindications for the advanced treatments into this as well. So please bear that in mind. But like I said, you can lift the questions from here and you can add some stuff afterwards. That's not a problem. Then you've got obviously about your client's skin. You want to find out like if they smoke, if they've had peels before, if they use retin-A, what their sleep patterns are like, their exercise, if they follow a restricted diet or not, you know, like this stuff. Hopefully, I mean, if you're not sure about why we're asking these questions, just pop me a PM. But hopefully you know why we ask some of these questions as well. But if you need a little bit more tuition on this, and you want to set up a call with me, let me know, because if you're not understanding why we're asking these questions and how it affects the skin, then we need to do a little bit more input with you as well. I'm quite happy to do that. So give me a shout if you need that, but hopefully you'll understand why we ask these questions as well and why they're important. And those of you that do a lot of things like dermatological and stuff like that, you'll probably recognise that a lot of these questions are kind of around one of their, like, how they use, well, for a long time I haven't used them for a little while actually, but how they used to kind of teach them. These are the questions I got used to asking all my clients after doing a lot of dermatological kind of treatments as well actually. I was a bit of a fan of theirs. So looking at whether they wear contact lenses, temperature of the water that they wash their face with, and then asking them specifically what problems they think they have pertaining to their face and their skin, what products that they use at home, if they're on things like contraceptives, do they get an oily shine during the day, do they get breakouts, how much water, do they experience any of the following like dryness and tightness and things, what SPF do they use and what level, do they burn easily, do they have a tendency to redness, caffeinated beverages, stimulants and stimulant tablets, like when it comes to things like massage and pressure, like what do they prefer, a light or a firm one, if they've ever had any reactions. So, I mean, that little bit there is usually what my learners will do with their clients in the first part of the consultation. They'll allow their clients to fill that out and then they'll sit and review all of that as well. And really, by the time they've asked some of those questions, you should have a rough idea on how their skin's behaving and roughly what skin type they sit into without even looking at their skin. So that's kind of the depth of those questions, really. That should be what that leads you to. You should have a pretty good idea of where they're at without even looking at their face at this point. So that's why those questions are like they are. And then what I've done is I've given my clients a task now. I need them to do a little bit of a skin analysis for me as well. And you can ask your clients to submit pictures and things like that later to you once you kind of start conversing a little bit more. But this is the preliminary kind of information that we need first of all. So I actually want them to look at each kind of zones, really, break the face up into little chunks and look at each zone and mark off what they see in each area. So I'm going to want them to get a mirror out and I want to know if they've got any freckles there. I have put the word blackheads because they're not going to know comedones. Let's make this realistic now. Comedones is fine when we're doing the skin analysis. Now we need to make this easier for them to understand. So we're going to have to go back to layman's terms for things like this. Milia, quite a lot of clients understand that, but I did put milk spots next to it. If you know of other words other people like to use, most of the clients I have, they call them milk spots. But again, have they got any of those in the areas? Have they got open pores, fine lines, wrinkles, redness, broken capillaries, any puffiness, dark circles? I put a pustular spot because they're not going to understand pustules. I've called it a blind spot for a non-pustular spot. Again, we need to know this stuff. If they've got any flakiness or pigmentation, and I've asked them to look at their foreheads, their cheeks. I mean, you could do outer cheek, inner cheek. You know, you can break this down a bit more. Look at their nose, their chin. What's the skin like around their eyes? What's it like on their jaw and neck? I mean, you could do jawline and neck separately. And then we want to have a discussion about their previous skin treatments as well. What treatments have they had before? Now, you could do a big list of them if you want to and ask them to tick it off, or you could just ask them to write the answer of what they've had. And they might just say like a normal facial, and that's fine. You just want to know. We want to find out how it made their skin feel. Did it solve the problem that they had, or was it just a relaxation thing? What advice were they given surrounding maintaining the treatment? You know, what do they know? Do they have a knowledge? Have they had a therapist that literally just does the facial and just lets them walk out the door? Were they satisfied with the results? And if not, why? And what habits are they willing to change to get on top of their skin concerns? You know, as there things that they're prepared to do, are they prepared to change their skincare routine? As well, are they prepared to change some of their gym habits or whatever it is, or some of their like cleansing routines for the evening or something, or their food intake? And then obviously we've got a little bit here at the bottom where you just want to thank them for answering the preliminary questions, and that you will be in contact with them shortly to discuss their skincare needs and to book their virtual consultation and program. So you can leave like a little bit at the ending of something like that. You can remind them of your email addresses and your contact details that you can put on there. You can put a picture there of your salon logo underneath that as well. This bit you could put on your page and allow them to just do that at will. You probably don't even have to send that to anybody specifically. You could put it out in your database though, which would be kind of cool, but you could leave that on your page as well as a pinned post and say, if you're interested in skincare, at this particular time, click on this link, fill out the form. Once I get the form through and I get the alert, or you can keep coming back in and checking your responses, you can then sit there and go through it individually. And because it allows you to print an Excel spreadsheet, you can keep a track of where you're at. You can add a couple of extra columns on your Excel spreadsheet from Google Forms, and you can keep a track of where you are in the process with them as well. So you can use it as a bit of a data management kind of thing too, which kind of is quite helpful, isn't it, really? So hopefully that helps. I think Google Forms is pretty good for stuff like that, actually. But most of the time people only get about as far as that anyway, and then they're off on the couch and they're starting their facial treatment and all that kind of stuff as well anyway. But actually there's a few more steps that you need to kind of take. So obviously you're going to make the call after reviewing all the data in the form, and you need to build that rapport very quickly. So you might not have had consultation with this client before or met them properly before. They could be a completely new client to you. So you do need to build that rapport quite quickly. Maybe spend 1 to 2 minutes just briefly discussing how they are. And then you can go to like sort of fully loaded kind of questions and things like that. But you need that kind of, like a couple of minutes just to build up that little bit of rapport with them. Find out how they're doing. And then you can kind of move on a little bit, chat about the weather or whatever as well. But it's that kind of that little bit that you would have between going from the reception to upstairs, really, that little bit of rapport that you're going to build up, just put them at ease, maybe say, right, if you've got a cup of tea, let's sit down, let's go for the conversation, just keep it nice and casual. I do think looking at facial expressions is better than having a phone call. So I do think if you can try and do it, it's like a FaceTime thing or a Zoom call thing, or Skype or something like that. I just think, you can tell so much more from having a visual consultation. And also bearing in mind, you do actually want to physically try and see them as close as you can as well anyway, to confirm the information they've given you. I know it's not perfect. I know we're not going to be using the woods lamp or using our magnifying lamps and things, but it's better than nothing, isn't it, really? And the thing with this as well, and I quite like this little quote as well, is that one of Pete Scott's quotes, or as he still is online at the moment, Pete Scott, is that better questions will get us better answers. Okay, so it needs to come from us questioning the client and getting the answers from them that helps us to do them more good, to help make their skin better. Whereas quite often, once we've done this first stage of the consultation, we switch into like therapist mode and start selling at them and flashing products in front of their eyes and things like that, and that is so not what they need, and you won't get the sale from that as well. So some really quite loaded kind of questions, and you can add to this, and I would happily have you add to this, and we can make this a working document for everybody as well. I will upload it into my online area as well, I think, actually, so that people can just pop in and help themselves to it. So I will pop the links for that later as well. In case anybody kind of missed that, we can make it a bit of a working document maybe. You can kind of question things underneath, and maybe we can keep adding to it, because wouldn't it be cool if we were all doing this? We're all really amazing at this. So what you want to find out is what's their main skincare goals. What is it they want? What would the best skin of their life look and feel like? Get them to imagine that, get them to picture that, and give them time and space to do that. Ask them the question, and then give them that space to actually answer. Don't just wait for that like unnatural void and start filling it with a load of like word vomit from you. You need to make sure you give them time, and if it just means they sit there and think about it for 5 minutes, that's cool. That's okay. Give them time and space to think about it. Say, look, I'm just gonna let you think about that for a second. I'm just gonna carry on making some notes on your form because I printed it out or whatever, and you can just leave it like that. Look, give them time, because it's as if they were in the room with you. That's kind of what you've got to work on. So what would it look and feel like for them? What do they want from this consultation? Why have they gone as far as filling it out and then having the phone call? What do they want from this? Is it a temporary fix they're after? They just want a quick win for a couple of small areas, or are they after a full solution? Are they actually after finally solving this and sorting it out? And we want them to be really specific about this, really get the details from them. So keep questioning to get right the way down to those fine little detailed answers for them. Don't let them kind of just gloss over things as well. Just like really, like, what is it? What is it you want? Like, imagine the perfect skin when you look in the mirror in the morning. What would that look like to you? You know, is that your skin without the pigmentation that you've got? Is that your skin without the congestion that you've got around the jawline, or whatever it is? What does that look like? And if you need to use examples about yourself, then you can do. So, look, like for me, like, you know, my better skin would be X, Y, and Z. You know, you can literally say that I would, you know, I'd get, my skin wouldn't be flaky and tight anymore. You know, my pigmentation would be drastically improved. I like my freckles, but I don't want big patches of pigmentation. You know, maybe you don't want that congestion on your neck and your jawline, for example. You know, like, what is it? What does it look like? That's how it would feel for me, but what does it feel like for you? Because everybody's different and everybody's unique. And at the moment, I think a lot of us, we do just pigeonhole our clients into an oilier combination or whatever box, and then we're done with it, really, aren't we? And then you want to find out, are they ready to change key areas in their life to achieve this? Current times permitting, you know, we've got to be realistic about this, but, you know, obviously this is a model that you can use for the rest of your life now, doing like your skincare consultations. So you do want to plan for that. But obviously, you know, at the moment, yes, we've got to be realistic about certain things, and there are certain things they can and can't change, isn't there, really, and what they can and can't get hold of. So we do need to do our best with that. As much as we can, but, you know, what are they prepared to change? Are they prepared to change their diet to go with this? You know, this is what it might actually take for someone. Will they want to change some of the things that they're eating or drinking or smoking to really get what they want to get to? Are they all in with this? Has it become that much of a problem for them? Where do they rate this in terms of priorities and how much it's bothering them? We want to find out how long the skin concern's been a problem before. It could be just a recent addition. It could be a hormone shift or whatever, or it could be a change of job or something, change of environment that could have done it. So how long has it been a problem for? Because this also tells you, you know, like, what they're prepared to do for it as well. Because sometimes if it's been going on for, like, you know, a month or a year or whatever, it's probably really, really getting them down. It's not like a flash in the pan for them as well. What else have they tried before this? What did they try and what's not worked for them? What did work and what didn't work? You know, maybe they were onto a little something there, but they just never stuck at it. And why didn't they stick at it? You know, maybe they tried something, it was working for a bit, but they fell out of that routine. Maybe the routine was too complicated for them. You know, maybe they're not the sort of person that can literally do like 5 different products in the morning, because they've got to get up at 5 and they've got to be out the door by 5:30 or something. You know, we've got to find things that fit them. This is bespoke. It should be always bespoke, but you need to make this fit for them. And then, like, ask them, how much does it cost you? As a ballpark, like, how much does it cost them? You know, because they've probably tried every product they can find out there. They've probably seen things in the magazines or whatever and gone for it. You know, if they could give a rough total about how much they've spent on all the other little kind of home therapies or things they could get off the shelf at the supermarkets or something like that, roughly how much does that cost them? To try and fix this. Maybe they've seen another therapist and the treatment just hasn't quite worked. How much did that cost them? And let's find out why that treatment didn't work. Maybe it just was the wrong combination of things together. So there's quite a lot of questions there we can just ask those, and I bet you're not asking a lot of those already. And if you are, that's really cool as well. And maybe just add a little bit more depth and breadth to that. We want to find out what their main skin concern is. What is the really, like, out of all of that, say they've got a list of things, and what is the one that's causing the most problems for them, the biggest issue? Because as we know with all problems as well, sometimes we can't tackle it all in one go. You know, it might be that you're looking at the client's skin and you can see like a load of pigmentation everywhere, but then there's a load of congestion. And that might not even be the things that they're bothered about. It might be something else. Maybe they're bothered about a few fine lines and wrinkles that are coming through at the moment. And it is really important to address some of their issues that they have first, so they're feeling more satisfied, they're getting results in that. Not just always what we think, but we do always need to obviously have that conversation with them as well. We kind of need to tick our boxes and their boxes too. But obviously they're not going to spend, say, a lot of money and say 6 months on a skincare program, and you've been busy working on their pigmentation, their congestion. So they're really worried about fine lines and wrinkles now developing. So you do need to tick their box too, as well with this. You also want to find out, are they ready to commit to this? Is this the time now where they're absolutely ready to move forward with this and to do something about it and do what it takes? And then finally, then you want to ask their permission. That is a really key thing. You do need to ask their permission about the fact that you would like to share your solution as you see it, the full solution, to tackle their skin concerns, and check that that's okay with them. You know, just check that at that point you've gone through all of those questions, say, okay, right, there's some things I want to share with you. Is that, is that okay if I share with you how I would see, like, that, like, basically the perfect solution for you, really, like how I would see this moving forward to tackle this, this, and this for you. This is how I would see it. And check they're okay with that, because you really ought to check their permission before you launch into your sales pitch. And then you need to look at your solution. Now, this isn't going to be your normal sales pitch. Your clients don't want the list of ingredients that do X, Y, and Z. They really don't. They'll switch off after the first one or two. Most of them, some of them are savvy, but they don't really want to know. They want to know, is it going to do what it says on the tin? Is it actually going to fix their problems? Don't get the products out. Leave the products away. They don't even need to see the products. But what you do want to do at this point, when you're explaining the solution about how you see it, you want to pre-handle their objections as well. You want to say to them, okay, this is going to have a cost to it. This is an investment. I understand it's an investment. I understand it's going to take time out of your routine in the morning or the evening. We're going to do our best to fit in with that. But if this is what they really want, they will do it. But you kind of need to let them know it's okay. I know you're thinking about that. I get that. It needs to be your choice and your priority if you see that as your priority right now. And if you don't, that's cool too. And you could get to the end of this and they're just not ready. And if they're not ready, go back and check all these little steps again. If you've probably missed something somewhere, make a note of the discussions you've had so you can see where you need to tweak your wording slightly as well with it. And then we need to look at the solution. So you want to present the solution as you see it, and you need to make it fit them. It's got to fit them in their home life or their work life and their commitments. It can't be one box, one product fits everybody. So they need products that are going to assist with their home routine, and you need to go through the use and the regime. You don't need to name it though. You're going to say we're going to get like a cleanse, and we're going to get an exfoliator kind of in with that. We're going to get, or you can even say things like we're going to get some products in there that are going to remove the dead skin cells. We're also going to work on the nourishment. We're going to work on moisturization levels. We're going to use things that help brighten the skin, tackle pigmentation on there. You don't need to sit there saying, well, first I'm going to get the cleanser out, then the toner, then you need to do this. You don't need to do all of that kind of stuff, but we are going to let them know what it does. We need to look at the diet to help with skin concerns as well. It comes from within as well. So, they might need to tweak and change their diet slightly. They might need multivitamins and things. It does come from within as well. Look at relaxation techniques as well that will help with this, particularly if it's like stress acne, stress spots and things like that. When we're getting a lot of this sort of 20s and 30s kind of acne kind of skin type as well. Relaxation is a big part of that as well. So look at things that they can do with that, even like breathing exercises and things as well that will help. Particularly at the moment, we need to look at some manual home techniques they can be doing. Everyone likes to feel involved. They don't want to just feel like it's all up to you when they come in for their treatment. That's a lot of pressure on you. They need to be involved in this. This is a journey together. So look at some home techniques, and that could be doing some pressure point movements. It could be natural lifting techniques that they could be doing as part of like an anti-aging type thing. They could be using the jade or the rose quartz rollers as well, maybe to really get some drainage and some lifting techniques kind of in there as well, and to maybe cool down some areas too, because I feel very cooling on the skin. So it could be some manual things like that they could be doing at home, and that's certainly something they could do at home now. That's something that you could be doing with them. You want to look at the future salon treatments as well, approximate timescales, combinations, and I guess now you could maybe voucher for this. If they want to buy into it now, you can maybe do up a series of vouchers for them if they're happy to purchase everything now as well with it, rather than breaking it all down. It just depends really kind of on where they're sat and where you're sat in terms of your position of being able to get hold of your products as well, and when we'll be able to kind of get up and running again with our treatments. It could be that maybe they do 3 months worth of home care products and home care techniques ready to start your sort of more practical future salon treatments in say 3 months time. I don't know if we're going to be over in 3 months or a month or 6 weeks. In my head, I like to work with about a 90-day timescale right now. I just think if I do that, I'm not going to stress and panic over everything. And some people like to work on a 30-day timescale at the minute. I think we're just going to have to just run with it, aren't we? But we need to plan this as well for our clients, and then look at the timescales and say to them, we're going to get you in for a treatment. We're going to do one type of deep peeling treatment is maybe going to do this, and then we're going to do something else after that. We're going to combine this with it later on. Once we've done a couple of maybe, what's quite probably maybe doing a couple of peels first before people then maybe go down the microneedling route or something like that, So, you've got your combinations planned out for them, and they work on the results as well. Don't forget, they don't need to know all of the ins and outs of things. They need to work on the results of what they're going to get from it, and you need to let them know it's going to be like a staged process as well. You have to throw everything at them. Homework as well. Give them homework to do. Get them to take pictures weekly to show the progress. Get them to journal how they're feeling about their skin, how it's looking. You could even do a journal for them, and they can just print it off and fill it out at home. Get them to take the pictures. And then you want either a weekly or a bi-weekly check-in as well. So you need to put a little bit of time in your diary. A lot of time at the moment, but a little bit of time in your diary, and to do like a little progress report. So like, how are we doing with this? Okay, do we need to switch and adjust this? And then give them time scales for this as well. And it really, for a full solution, you should be looking at around 6 or a 9 months journey, really, realistically, for a client. You will get some quick wins quite early on, but we're trying to fix like a big thing here. So you're looking at a longer time scale. And I think you let them know that, it's not going to change in a month. They might see some movement and some changes. But, if we're going to fix the problem, we're probably going to need a lot longer than that. We may even need longer than 9 months. But you could kind of give them that kind of rough sort of guesstimate, I guess, really, as well with something like that. So make sure you're quite clear about that. This is how we put this solution together. So hopefully this gives you some things that you can think about, all the different things, because 9 times out of 10 people go very much with product and their treatment sometimes. They'll try and flog the product around the treatment, and then they'll just send them on their merry little way and say, I'll see you in a month's time. We don't do all this other stuff. And for me, the solution is all this other stuff as well. It's them buying into the process with you and doing the work. It's like, going down the gym and signing up with a PT and just turning up to them once a month and expecting to have that beach body. It's just not going to happen. It takes effort on both sides. And that's where you're not going to be getting the results that you want. The other thing as well is obviously you do definitely need to make sure you can get consent as well, because obviously if you're going to start getting these pictures coming through, they're great for your testimonials and they're great for your before and afters and things, but you must get consent to be able to share some of those, even if it's blocking out sections as well. So don't just presume, but ask them and maybe do a checkbox or something like that with them to see if they're quite happy to do that with you. So possible objections you could have are things about like maybe the investment, and it is an investment as well, but a part solution won't get the results. Like if they want to like go something cheap, the cheap hasn't been working. When they cost up all the cheap, it's actually cost quite a lot, and probably more than what your solution is going to be. It's not going to be a quick fix. You let them know that it's going to take commitment from them. They're going to have to do the work as well. This is on them as well as you. And if they can find, say, 10 minutes or whatever it is in their day to complete this, is maybe what they're going to need to do. Maybe you can just talk about what their routine's like, and then looking back, they do need to look at back maybe what they've spent before and they've still not achieved the goals. It's coming back to that price kind of thing again as well. There's probably loads more objections I can add to this too. But this just gives you a few to get started, but try and think of all the objections you've had in the past as well and bring it into this as well, and keep updating your list of objections. I do that all the time. I keep updating my list of objections I have, and they might still go on to buy, and I've explained something and they still go on to buy, but I've made a note of that, because clearly if they've had to ask the question, I've not made it clear enough in the presentation of my solution, and so I need to go back and work on that, or maybe it wasn't in my paperwork or something like that I sent. So I always make a note of things like that as well, to try and do that. It's a bit like a nice reflection for you. And then towards the end of this conversation, you're going to want to bring it back to them again to summarise. So you want to ask them, remind me of your skincare goals again. Let's go back to that. Remind me what it is you want. Specifically, what do you want to achieve? How long do you think we're going to need to achieve this? What will need to be done to get there? Ask them. And this is a little bit like a check on learning to see what they've taken on board. But what you should see at this point, if you go back and you do this a little bit, you should see the change in their goal clarification. They should be different, using different words, and maybe some of the words you've been using to explain things than what they did to begin with, which means they've understood some of that stuff. This is about checking they've understood the process we've just gone through. So you should see a change of that. They should be a bit more detailed about it, and they should be understanding the depth of what's needed to be done to achieve this solution they're trying to get to achieve their goal. If not, you need to tweak your questions. You need to take your steps a little bit further because you've definitely missed something there as well. If they come back with exactly the same thing and they've not tweaked the wording slightly as well, then you've missed something along the way. You've maybe not done as many questions as you should have as well. They might still go on to buy, but I would take this as feedback from yourself that they're not picking up from what you're trying to teach them as well, because this is an education thing really for them. And then we get to the point where we can always ask for the sale really. And you might be prompted by your client at this point. They've pretty much sold it to themselves. They're snapping your arm off, and they'll pretty much go from the sort of check on learning that you've done to, right, so what do I need to do to sign up? What do I need to do? And they've taken that whole question section out for you already. If not, then you need to say to them, okay, right, so we've gone through all of this. Okay, are you ready to invest now? Are you ready to do this? Let's do this and give us our full commitment, or however you want to word it that makes it comfortable for you. This is a journey you do take on together, so make them know, like, you you ready to start this together? Because we're going to need to commit both sides. I need to get my diary sorted. I want to make sure I've got everything ready for you. Are you ready to move forward with this? And it is that point. Are they ready? And they might not be ready now. They might be ready in a few weeks' time. They might be ready in a couple of months. And you can check in on them to see if they're ready. But it may be they haven't prioritised this yet, or it may be that you haven't kind of done the in-depth questions that you meant to do earlier. Maybe you didn't ask those questions in the right way. And this sort of process almost needs to be as good as what it was when you've done your treatment. When you do a treatment and you just become an automatic pilot a little bit, it almost needs to be down to that. It needs to be like that well scripted for you, but that's going to take some time. And actually now's the time to do it. Even if you're doing some consultations for free, now is the time to practice those. Because I tell you what, when you get your clients back in the door again and you do this for your skincare in general and all your facials or any other treatment, you can map this out for any other treatment, this consultation process. It works for everything. Then what you can do then is obviously map that out for everything else that you have got, and you can be flying with that as well. So it is something you can use now while we've got some downtime to practice as much as possible as well. So then if you get your yes, what do you do now? So your next thing now is going to be setting up your payment plan and getting like your payment plan or your system in place. I don't know how they're going to be paying for that, but you need to get that in place. You also then need to get your product schedule in place. What do they need? When do they need it by? Are you going to be spreading out? I say it's a 6-month solution. You're going to be spreading out your products like once a month, like sending them out in the post. You're going to give them a month's supply at the start. Are you going to give them 6-month supply? Are you going to tweak the products as you go along, depending on how their skin reacts, moves and shifts and changes through the different phases it's going to go through? It depends on your goal, doesn't it, really? And what solution it is that you're offering. You might decide that actually giving them a month's worth of products at any one time is actually a better move to make, because you're going to stop and keep readjusting as you go along. Look at your treatment schedule. What needs to be done, when you're going to be doing it. I'd say at the moment, maybe kind of getting your vouchers for the treatment at the moment would be a good idea, because then they can just come in and just utilise that. But you do need to tuck that away for later, or at least a portion of that away for later. Otherwise, you're going to have some service debt, and obviously you've already upsold pretty much most things that you can do with this. It's a good idea to do a personalised video for the product usage, so they actually know how to use it. Don't presume they know how to cleanse their skin properly. Just because they've been doing it for years doesn't mean to say they know how to do it correctly. And sometimes, us as therapists, we're so good at doing that bit of it, we kind of forget that not everybody knows what we know. So for all of their products, make sure they know how to do it. And this, you can send that to them as a personalised video, and start off with something really, personalised at the beginning, and then have maybe some other pre kind of done videos for everything else, so that maybe you can just send it out to all of your clients on an individual basis. Kind of start off with a personalised one, like, hey Janet, here's your personalised video sequence. You're going to find one under cleansing, one under exfoliation, one under like how to moisturise and put your SPFs on properly, and then maybe pre-record all of them so they can then go out and be recycled. And also, video, again, making sure it's personalised for the home treatment techniques as well. So how to do those pressure points, how to do the quartz or the jade stone rollers and things like that, or the natural lifting techniques as well. Again, make it personalised to them, give them one that uses their name, but then maybe have the other steps underneath. And you can email that to them. If they're not too long-winded, you can email that to them, or you can use like a file transfer system or something, or an area where they can go in and download it or something as well. And then they're going to need some type of form or documents at home to keep themselves accountable, to track their progress. And also you need to have set out your program review checkpoints. At what point are you going to be checking in with them as well? So then your costs should be based on the change. So now I want you to think about what change you could make if you were doing this for your clients, even on a face-to-face level, and not just virtually as well, and your cost should be based on that as well. And so therefore you could charge for your consultation and redeem that against the full solution price at the end of it as well. However, I do appreciate at the moment you might want to maybe do some of these for free, particularly to get your practice in as well, which you could do. And or you could add like a really small charge or something like that, so they get used to having that as well, and maybe like a small percentage of what one of your regular facials costs or whatever, because it's still going to be your time and your effort it's going to go into this. I'll leave that one with you about what feels right for you and your clients, and what feels right for now as well with people. It depends when you're planning on launching this and how far through this process we're at as to whether you're going to charge for this consultation and how much you're going to charge for it as well. But based on everything we've gone through, potentially that could be, you know, a really good point to start with as well. And you could have clients coming in for consultations just anyway in your salon, booking for their skincare consultations, and then you do the sort of program design kind of afterwards for them. Stop them pick and mixing stuff off of the treatment list. You know, most clients, there's so much choice with facials, and they don't really know their skin type, so they're not really sure. They'll pick something based on their friends, or they'll pick something based on just what sounds fancy or whatever, on the price list, or they don't know and they pick the most basic thing because they just go with what they recognise. It's a bit like when you go to a restaurant where they've got all this fancy stuff in front of you and you pick the thing that you recognise, you feel comfortable, familiar with as well. Whereas actually if someone sat down and had a conversation with you and asked what you liked and disliked and things, then they could sit down and go through that with you. And you know, that would be an excellent waiter, wouldn't it, if you were in a restaurant or something like that as well. But you know, think of it like that. Think of it in those processes of what you've got on your price list, and just think, you know, maybe I should just reduce it down to like this bespoke solution or something like that, and that everybody just comes through this process and has a consultation with me before we decide which way they're going to go on the price list. And I'd say that's a really good kind of move to make. But again, it's your business, it's up to you what you want to do. Do what you will with this. It's absolutely fine. I don't mind. I'm just going to stop the share now. I don't mind what you do. Feedback, I'd love some feedback on this. I don't mind opening up discussions on this at all. So, you know, feel free to feedback to me on this as well. And like I said, I will upload the PowerPoint itself so that you can get the file share link to the Google form and have a little look. And then it might ask you to sign in with your Google password when you first go into it. That's just to get into Google Forms in general, and then you can look at it. I don't mind. Lift what you want to, cut and paste what you want to. It's yours to make your own. Add more to it, particularly if for the preliminary consultation part of it. If you are doing advanced treatments, you are going to need to add more contraindications to that, and you're probably going to need to add a few more questions as well before you get onto the zoning kind of part of it as well. But I'll leave that with you, because obviously you've already got your paper copies of a lot of your consultation forms that you can upload into that area as well. But you know, this could be a good way of you communicating with your clients in this kind of downtime, and use this time to practice this technique, and just generally get better at your skincare consultations anyway. So if this helps, great. But yeah, just have a good think about like what I said about the different times and when it's going to be appropriate to do this as well, because you'll actually do more damage if you start trying to push this too soon and too quickly with your clientele, if you don't have that rapport with them already, and people are uncertain about the money they've got and things as well. So you could even maybe just pick like 5 or 6 people to practice with, doing this with some of your nearest and dearest clients, or the ones that you kind of know quite well that won't mind practicing this virtual consultation process with you as well. So have a fantastic day. I hope you are well, and I hope you will stay safe. And if you've got absolutely any questions on this, let me know. I will pop this in my YouTube channel as well. I'll put this in the Academy Creator one, because that's the only one I've got up and running at the moment anyway. So I will dump it in there too, so that you can find it. Yeah, take care.